Shalom, family trendsetter. All praises be to the Most High. This morning, I want to talk about a topic that is kind of controversial, but before I go into it, I want to make a disclaimer. I don't believe that all so-called white people are wicked. Okay, I do believe that they do have that tainted DNA, that wicked, evil, Cain DNA inside of them, and a lot of them, for the most part, a lot of them. That DNA is dormant. That wicked DNA is dormant. Not saying it doesn't exist, but it's just dormant. So a lot of times you see these devils. Well, some of these white people. That I just said not all of them, right? So a lot of times you see some of them have a lot of humanity towards so-called black people. Not all of them, because y'all could count a percentage of so-called white people that actually have done stuff on behalf of black people. And this is why I say not all of them are wicked. So if you're listening to this video and you know within yourself that you have a love, right? And I use that word very loosely, because when you define the word love, you can't really define love, because you love your mother, you love your sister, you love your kids, and it's all a different kind of feeling. You know what I'm saying? You can't love them in the same manner. Like how you would love your husband. You love your mother's totally different how you would love your husband or your wife. But anyway, so I use that word very loosely. So for those of you who do have regards to so-called black people and see the injustice that's being done to us, the Most High chosen people, right? And you know it's wrong. Yes, you guys have a lot of humanity in y'all. All right? It's just that you have that tainted DNA, right? And it clearly shows on your continent, which is the so-called red pale skin, because you're not white, all right? And we're not black. Y'all gave us that name black to try to demoralize and put a stigma on us. We know that black represent ugly, darkness, and evil, and that's why y'all gave us the name black, and then y'all gave yourself white, which represent purity, which in the incident, y'all not white. Y'all different shades of red, different shades of pink. But anyway, with that said, let's continue. So today I want to talk about the Gentile destroyer. What is it, the Gentile destroyer? This is the UFO that these people have been reporting. It's been an uptick for the last couple of years. So much so now that it's actually, they're broadcasting on mainstream news. So you have what they refer to as UFO, unidentified flying object. But actually, they are identified flying object, because these are what you refer to as the chariots that was mentioned in the Bible. Now, you know my stance on the Bible. I do subscribe to the Bible. However, the translated version of these so-called Bible, I read it with a grain of salt, because at the end of the day, I know that the New Testament that I do not subscribe to was plagiarized from the Old Testament, and the Old Testament was plagiarized from our original text, the Book of Remembrance. So like the King James Version, a lot of people put a lot of stock into the King James Version. Oh, that's the unadulterated word of God. No, it ain't. Nope, that was written by men. It's a translated version of the original story. You cannot say something that was translated, right, or a version of a story is the original. It doesn't make sense. You cannot say that came from the Most High when it's a version of a story that they translated. Think about it. This person translated a story, given their version of it. It's not going to be identical. They're going to take away and they're going to put in. So much so, this is why the 1611 King James Version Bible has the Apocrypha, right? But then you still have to search out other books like the Maccabees and all these other books. You know what I'm saying? You have to search them out. And when you do come across it, a lot of them cost a lot of money, because they don't want you to have this information. So you cannot say the 66 books is the unadulterated word of the Most High. It just doesn't make sense. So this is one of the reasons why when I do read the Bible, you know what I'm saying, I read it and I ask the Most High for discernment, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Okay, because a lot of times I will open up the New Testament, not because I'm intrigued by it, it's because I want to see the flaws, the folly in this New Testament. And then when you read about the Son deity, Jesus Christ, he's always referred to as a light. Now, the only person in the Old Testament that was referred to as a light is Lucifer, right? How art thou, whatever. I'm not going to try to paraphrase it because I don't remember the verbatim. But remember, Lucifer also, a lot of people believe that was an angel. No, it was actually a king. You know what I'm saying? and he was cut down from his throne. But a lot of people believe that he came out of heaven. So what they want to do, they want to deify this particular king, right, called Lucifer, so much so now they have deified him as an angel. And again, if you read the scripture correctly with discernment, you realize that Lucifer, they wasn't referring to this particular king in the Old Testament that was cut down as an angelic being. It was actually a man, a king. But I'm not going to go there because I know a lot of y'all not going to believe me. I'm going to think it's Satan or Satan or whatever. But it is what it is. So the topic of the day we're going to talk about is UFOs, right? So UFOs, again, they say unidentified flying objects. It's actually identified flying objects. These are chariots of the Most High. This is what y'all refer to as a Gentile destroyer. These chariots of the Most High is doing recon, right? Because they're about to come down here and they're about to wipe these parasites off the planet. Y'all time is up. The 400-year prophecy is up. I know a lot of people believe that the 400 years was referring to when it was in Egypt, but if you really think about it and break it down, it's not referring to Egypt, because it was what, I think it was 430 years or something like that. And out of that time frame, we wasn't in bondage for the whole time. You know what I'm saying? We was free under Joseph. But I don't want to go into that either. So these UFO sightings that a lot of people have been seeing around the world, so much so now you have the United States government, your president, Commander-in-Chief, talking about he's going to start a space program. They've been had a space program. That's what NASA is. NASA's not no organization, space traveling, going to the moon and none of that shit, going to Mars. They cannot leave the firmament. They never left the firmament. As a matter of fact, there was an incident where they was doing a well, it wasn't even an incident. It was they was doing a documentary, and they was talking about the how we can't pass the Orion belt. It's like a bunch of asteroids that it's like a barrier, basically. So they said they never was able to break through the Orion belt, excuse me. So how is it now in the 60s and the 70s they was able to break through the Orion belt, but now they're saying, you know, present day, we can't break through it. So how was it then you was able to travel to the moon, but now the technology is no longer there because it was destroyed? So they never been back to the moon from the 70s. Go figure. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense, because now they know people are smarter. People are going to say, wait a minute, if you guys could travel to the moon back then, how is it you can't travel to the moon now? And then you have China talk about they went to the far side of the moon. Notice they said they went to the far side of the moon, not the near side. So they went to the far side, because how are we going to prove that they actually been to the moon? You know, that was a lie. They all conspired together to deceive the world. So family, there's been an uptick in UFO, and again, these are the chariots of the Most High. The Gentile destroyer is here. A lot of these Gentiles now, this heathen nation, a lot of these so-called white people now making videos for the first time, you know, saying how we are the chosen people. Now they're acknowledging who we really are. And all praise be to the Most High. The Bible said in the last days, knowledge was going to be increased. And it's not technology. You're talking about knowledge of who we are. It's so funny, right? Because they had that rally the other day, you know, down there by the monument and shit, where you had those fake Hebrew Israelite, those Hispanic, I don't even know what to call them, because they're not real Hebrew Israelite. The only people that's Hebrew Israelite is of African descent, Afro. Okay, no fucking Spanish, no Mongoloids, no Puerto Rican, none of that shit. So you had these agents. I think they was agents. You know, had a clash with this native, but not the Native American, but the mega supporter, right? And they was cussing them out or whatever. But what I noticed is that they was using a lot of vulgarity. You had a Native American peacefully protesting, you know, in their manner. They wasn't doing anything crazy, but you had these agents that dress up like us, talk about they Hebrew Israelite, and they try to pretty much put defamation on our character, but it backfired, because now you have the world for the first time hearing this word Hebrew Israelite, and a lot of people doing research, and of course they're gonna come across some negativity when it comes to these campers and shit on the corner cussing people out. But at the end of the day, they're gonna learn. They're gonna hear some truth for the first time. So the Most High actually used these devils, these infiltrators, these agents, talk about they Hebrew Israelite, because I don't believe in that 12-tribe chart. That shit was bullshit. REI came up with the 12-tribe chart. He tried to present it to Albert Bibbins, and Albert Bibbins discounted it. He said he only went with it because it was allowing, the 12-tribe chart was allowing new members. You know what I'm saying? It was a money thing. So that's why he rocked with it. But at the end of the day, guess what? This shit is fake. You know, niggas say he had a vision. REI, he had a vision. Get out of here. I have visions every day. Doesn't mean it's from the Most High. You know what I'm saying? Talk about Mexicans and Issachar and all this bullshit. It's all Afro. If you're not Afro, so-called black people, you're not an Israelite. It's point blank period. Because you got a majority of our people, the Northern Kingdom, is over there in Africa, and a lot of them, these Hebrew campers like this disrespect the Africans, calling them shithole or shit eaters or whatever. You know, so most of our peoples are over there. So I don't understand how you gonna, you know, tie in these damn mongoloids, you know, these half-breed with Israel, with Yasharal. It doesn't make sense. But anyway, family, I just wanted to come on here because I know I'm off topic. We're talking about the UFOs. The Gentile destroyers is here. They're doing recons. They want to pretty much see what's going on. A lot of our people soon enough will be gathered. I don't believe the 400-year prophecy is going to be based on the Gregorian calendar. I think it's based on the lunar calendar. So I know a lot of us is looking at 1619 and 2019, but I do have a feeling it has some significance because we had the blood moon, and the blood moon is a marking for the time of the Most High. You know what I'm saying? So in other words, that was a sign in the heavens that the Most High is on his way, and we need to start prepared. We need to continue following the law, statutes, and commandments. You know what I'm saying? The dietary law. And we need to continue loving one another and stop selling drugs and destroying one another. You know what I'm saying? Now the world acknowledges who we are as a people. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be more widespread. This is just the beginning stage of it. Like I said, by them doing what they did on the National Mall, using those agents to try to bring defamation to our character, it actually backfired. So now everybody know about Hebrew Israelite. What is Hebrew Israelite? That's the Most High chosen people that's under bondage. If you read Deuteronomy chapter 28 from the 15th verse to 68th verse, we are the only people that the curse fit. All right. So with that, family, I say peace and blessing and shalom.